Welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host,
Charlie Seymour.
And I'm Tim Sternberg. Hit it, Nick. We are back with another awesome live episode. No, not live. All right, we're on tape. Another awesome episode here of Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast. I don't know why I do this. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Just imagine a whole podcast. Just if for our listeners, I'm just like waving my hands like a conductor.
Hey,
Oh,
you
my
never know what
goodness.
to do with your hands, so you do
Hey,
what you want.
hey, boom, boom.
You do you.
Oh man. I'm excited. Big Brother released the new house pictures, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We don't know the house guests yet, so we're waiting for that news to drop. We're also going to talk on this episode about the mole and the latest of the boys, and getting ready for the All Star break coming up very soon. Next week, we're going to have a great episode on best summer movies. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll preview that episode coming up. A lot to talk about. I want to first, if you oblige me a little bit, Charlie,
Please.
Our good friend Nicholas Pepin has a podcast. Listen to it if you have a chance, called Pop Culture Roulette. And then their almost recent episode, I believe they did a bracket on vehicles, so movie vehicles, TV vehicles. And I gave our buddies some slack in the middle of listening to. So I drive up to Boca to see, and my wife is taking care of my sister-in-law. I drive up to Boca and I listened to the podcast on my way up there, and I'm listening, and apparently they did it that they did one part of the bracket first, and I'm listening. I don't hear the DeLorean from Back to the Future. And I'm like, how could you do a podcast and not have the DeLorean? So here I am texting Nicholas. And of course, it's part of the second bracket. It comes down to if you don't want to be spoiled, please listen to Nicholas's podcast, but I'm going to explain what it comes down to.
Wait, really quickly. So you're
right.
specifically talking about vehicles in movies. So
movies and television, pop culture.
But physical, like travel vehicles, planes, buses, all that.
Also, they had TARDIS from Doctor Who, Bill and Ted's phone booth, the hoverboard from Back to the Future. So
okay,
different.
I like this.
Anything that kind of move, it was great. So definitely listen to that.
How many total? 64 or 16?
I think 16. It was like a 16 bracket. So the first episode they did like TV. And then the second one they did kind of movies and miscellaneous.
So they had the best of each come out again. Yeah, I like that. Interesting. All right, can't wait to hear that.
Sci-fi bracket, it comes down. Well, the ultimate bracket and sci-fi, the ultimate two for sci-fi, comes down to the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars and the DeLorean from Back to the Future. And
that's quite a battle.
It's quite a battle. And let me tell you,
I wonder which one you would pick.
Well, here's the battle. Like, yeah, the geek in me and the Back to the Future huge super fan, of course, would love the DeLorean to win. But I'm thinking, if I'm a true pop culture guru and a science fiction fan, I know that the Millennium Falcon is a more iconic vehicle.
It's gotta be number one.
It has to be. Like, Star Wars is the biggest franchise ever. And so, but I will tell you, I was a little sad that the Millennium Falcon beat out the DeLorean. I texted Nicholas. I'm like, I understand it. I'm sad. There was some other discussion about
they made it to the title. That's a good year.
There was some weird discussion with Jeremy that I won't get into. You can listen to the podcast and hear it yourself. Very funny. They're a funny bunch of guys on that podcast. And so the final four, I'm gonna get this wrong. I know, but forgive me, Nicholas, if I do. I believe the final four was the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo.
Okay, yes.
Was the Millennium Falcon, was a hoverboard from Back to the Future, and I do not remember the fourth.
The DeLorean.
No, it wasn't because the Millennial Falcon in the bracket beat out the DeLorean.
Oh, so the
So
DeLorean went out in the Elite Eight.
technically, the hoverboard beat out the DeLorean.
Oh man. Hey, that's okay. That's multiple vehicles in the same movie. That's impressive.
I love the Mystery Machine from
Did
Scooby-Doo.
Star Wars have a second vehicle?
Yeah, they had a number of vehicles actually. It had they had Boba Fett's that Slave One was in there. A number, I think a couple one somebody was upset that the fighter wasn't in there, the TIE fighter,
Yeah. Those things are
yeah. So I'll
what about the gigantic, what if they were for the bad guys? The gigantic.
Yes, they had the Death Star. Death Star was a vehicle.
No, but what about the why can't I think of what they're called? The gigantic things that walk in the snow on the snow planet.
The stormtroopers vehicles. I know what you're talking about.
And then
yeah.
And then the Avengers, Spider-Man references it. That really old movie. And you know what I'm talking about. And
so you would, Avengers. Oh, I remember the fourth one is the winner. The Millennium Falcon didn't win. What do you think I'm leaving out that won?
Man,
what other really truly iconic? I will tell you this
okay.
Vehicle,
is it a bicycle from ET?
No.
Okay.
It's a car.
It's a car.
And it appeared on both a TV series and a movie franchise. That was on the list. Kit was on the list. Yeah.
It was on movie and
the movie came out in
the Batmobile.
1989. The Michael Keaton's Batmobile from Batman, the first Batman movie.
I don't know. That was one from the Dark Knight's pretty powerful.
Pretty impressive. But I just want to give major kudos to Nicholas Pepin and his buddies. That was really an entertaining podcast. Please listen to Pop Culture Roulette. Yeah, definitely worth the listen. It was good. It was good. Yeah. So
he
would you kind of go that way?
He just went to Wrigley.
He did.
He went to see his Angels play the Cubs, and he texted me and he said, if you can believe it, now the last 3 baseball games I've seen have involved the Cubs.
Ooh. And his buddies, of course, he lives in Milwaukee, are huge Brewer fans. So,
yeah.
Nicholas isn't originally from Milwaukee. So, Nicholas poor Nicholas is an Angels fan. Speaking of the Angels, Mike Trout just had a second child. I saw that on social media. So congratulations to Mike Trout. He certainly has enough time off, unfortunately.
It's a shame. I saw usually he'd be getting ready for the All Star game.
I saw something, speaking of that he hasn't participated in an All Star game because of injury since 2019. He's usually injured this time of year.
Yeah.
Not wild.
And a lot of the times he's made the team and then they replace him.
Speaking of the All Star game, we can, I guess, talk a little bit about baseball real quick. There was controversy apparently because Pete Alonso went in for a number of reasons. Like I was hearing, that as far as the All Star game goes, it shouldn't have been Pete Alonso. It should have been either Brandon Nimmo or Francisco Lindor, or even the new guy, Pete's friend, who was also a Gator. I forget his name.
Oh, Bader.
Harrison Bader. Thank you.
Yeah. Former Cardinal. A friend of the pod loves Harrison Bader. He's a good ball player.
I don't like the Cardinals, but he's a good player.
Yeah, I know you don't like the Cardinals, but Bader's a good ball player.
But I love Bader. I think Bader was a great get for this podcast. And so the talk was like, oh, Harrison Bader or Francisco Lindor, or and I understand. Honestly, when you and I talked about this before I knew who it was, I was thinking it was going to be Nimmo who's going to be the representative for the Mets.
Me too.
I don't know, maybe Nimmo didn't want to go. You don't know what the situation was.
Ken Rosenthal got the info. And you know what? Who cares? Like we said, Pete Alonso.
It doesn't matter.
Great for the home run derby.
It's an all-star game.
I mean, exactly. It's what the people want.
The Mets have a representative, and I'm sure they're probably disappointed, but I'm sure they're okay with their boy going there. And like I said, Pete Alonso is incredibly entertaining on the home run derby. If you've watched it the last couple of years, it's fun to watch it with him. He gets into it. I love that. I think he's gonna.
Only 2 people have ever won the home run derby 3 times or more. He has a chance to be the 3rd.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
I love Pete. He's my guy. I don't think he's gonna win it though. I think it's gonna probably be Gunnar Henderson or Bobby Witt. But we'll see.
I love
Um,
it.
we'll
Gunner's
see.
my guy.
I know Gunner's your guy, and I don't know. Pete had a decent year. He's not at the level that he was in that first home run
I
derby.
I wonder though, here's what I will say. The new rule change this year for the Derby, I think kind of favors Alonso a little bit because there's no longer if he won't get as tired because they're capping the number of pitches. So if everyone's getting the same thing, Bobby Witt or Gunner, for example, might be less tired
Why are they capping the number of pitches?
because they don't want it to take forever. Sometimes
But
people
isn't
take
it like timed anyway?
yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I think Pete's problem the last couple of years, from what I saw, is the person who was pitching to him. I
Right.
mean, and that does make a difference. I mean, you do want someone you can trust, but they at least know how to throw a I mean, not a fastball, but they need to know how to throw a baseball.
It's
You know what I
always a
mean?
fun story too. It's like his fourth grade gym teacher.
Coach. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that though.
It's
That's
it's
what
always
makes
fun.
baseball.
Yeah.
And then you did something I didn't do. I went to the All Star game. I didn't go to the home run derby. You went to the home run derby.
Yeah.
That's fun. Were you in the outfield?
No, we were not.
Oh,
We were
see, that's
sitting
where you
third
get the
base side.
baseball. So
I
many
know.
souvenirs coming through. We like the souvenirs.
That was
Um,
quite a long time ago.
and I can't wait. A couple of weeks, we're going to be up there and rooting for the Cubs to beat the Cardinals. I can't wait for that trip. Yeah, that's going to be fun times. Excited.
Yeah,
Um,
Cubs are playing a little better. It's. I don't want to say they're getting back in the hunt, but they're kind of back in it. 3.5 all of a sudden.
is it happening?
It might be. It might be.
Ian Happ had a great day a couple of days ago, didn't he? Have
Yeah,
like he
yesterday.
had a day. It was like three home runs or two. It was a multiple home runs.
That was a couple days before
Yeah, a
that.
couple of days.
He
Yeah,
had a
I
two
remember
homer, six
that.
RBI day,
That's amazing.
and then he had another 3-run homer yesterday in Baltimore. So they're
I
they're
love
playing
that.
better. They're playing better.
And
We'll
Camden
see.
Yards is not an easy ball from what I remember. It's not an easy ballpark to hit.
Matt's won again today. Shocking.
Mm.
Playing great.
I don't
Hey,
want to like you. I don't want to jinx it either. You
they're
know what I
playing
mean?
they're playing great ball. Things are turning. We'll see. We still got about last time we did this, we said we got about 4 weeks. Now we got about 2 to 3 weeks to go with the All-Star break counting. So lot of baseball
Oh
left.
man. Speaking of a lot left, how many episodes are there on the boys this season?
Ooh,
Do you
I
know?
think I think there are 10. And what was the one that will air tomorrow is number what, 7?
Seven, yeah. Um, so episode 6 was called Dirty Business. And I have to recap, I have to refresh my mind because I watched it like last Friday. Because
There might
I
only
don't know
be
about
8
you.
actually. There's only 8. I think the
I
finale's next week.
I have to watch I have to watch them like right away as soon as they drop. I don't know what it is. I just like, so good.
So are
Um,
you gonna watch that one tonight?
well, tomorrow's Thursday. Doesn't it drop Friday? It drops
No.
to tomorrow. Oh wow.
Oh wait. No, yeah, no, it drops in your time. It's already dropped. It drops the 11th, 4th, 11th, 18th.
So
It's a Thursday
we
show.
I think the big so in episode 6, I think the big reveal was that Butcher was actually not really talking to people and he was hallucinating.
Yes,
Um
to both.
to
They
both. We
that
kind of
was
knew his wife was an hallucination. I mean, she was
we
dead.
knew his wife was, but the
Right.
way they did that was brilliant. I
All
thought.
of a sudden he's talking to the wife and he's like, "Wait, you could talk to each other?" And meanwhile, the poor guy who's got his legs cut off, is sitting there looking at him, just talking to himself. Um, so Butcher is slowly going crazy. Illness-induced hallucination. Um, apparently there were clues sprinkled throughout the past episodes, but that was the first time we got something concrete about him actually hallucinating. Um, and Dr. Shaw actually called it out, and he was like proud of the fact that he was able to do that. Because I mean, look what Butcher did to him, right? I mean, his name is Butcher, by the way. Um, And so yeah, I think that was the big reveal. Also
That
there was
was something.
something about a dungeon. I'll say that.
Oh, that it definitely
I
had its
can't
moment,
really
but
talk about it. It's so awkward. It's
yeah, they're finding a way to do something each week.
like, do they
We
really?
can skip
They
right
want to
over
make
that.
us feel uncomfortable. Like, what is
That's
that?
exactly what they want.
Oh man, dude. Yeah, we're gonna skip over. If you want to know, it's The Boys. It drops tonight. It drops today. You'll hear this today on Thursday on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that was something. They're always doing
That's
something like that each
that's
week.
one.
Now it's not even a surprise at this point.
That's one way to put it. It was something.
Yeah,
Um, Now I'll self admit I have not yet caught up on the Bear. Um, I will very
that's
soon.
okay. You've seen a handful of them.
Yeah, I heard though that episode 6 is the highest rated episode of the season, and that was Io's Adibre's first directorial debut. She directed that
Um,
episode.
so funny you mentioned that. We were
She
watching
must
that
not be in the
episode.
episode that much.
No, she's in the episode
She's in
plenty.
it, so she directed her. Oh, it's always interesting. Okay.
Yes, and it's funny is halfway through I remember making some comment where I was like, "Man, I really love this episode," and then all of a sudden at the end I was like, "Oh, she directed it, of course."
She's awesome. I love her heart. She's just yeah, she's spirit. So yeah, I'm
It's
excited.
I don't want to give anything away, but it's a good finish to the season. You're in for a ride.
So we're gonna have a full wrap up of the Bear. We're gonna plan that for our in 3 podcasts away from here. So maybe in our podcast that we drop on August 1st. Actually, it'll probably
Give people
drop on
time to
July
watch it.
31st. But yeah, it'll give people time to watch it. Our next 2 podcasts are going to be like best of introspective shows on some of our favorite things I mentioned earlier. Next week's episode is going to be all about our favorite summer movies. Um, yeah, I'll drop this. We did already record it, so it's a very good conversation. It was interesting. We could have probably did 3 hours on that podcast without a doubt.
Let us know if you think we missed out on any. We brought up one after the fact, but then we kind of came together that
Yeah, which one did we bring up? I
you
forgot.
mentioned old school
Oh,
and
oh,
Wedding Crashers.
the
Or
Hangover.
The Hangover, right?
Hangover, same
And
vein,
those kind
same
of
vein
we kind of felt that they gained popularity later on.
after the fact.
It wasn't like a known in the moment.
So next week, Charlie and I will bring up our favorite. Well, I'll bring up my favorite list, and Charlie will kind of. I don't want to spoil it, but it's more
You
about
know me, it's too
franchises.
difficult.
It's franchises.
Yeah, there's
You'll
just so
you'll
many.
find out. There's so many. But yeah, that'll drop next Wednesday or Thursday, probably Thursday. Um, yeah. So what else we got?
Well, I finally watched The Mole.
Oh yes, we can talk about them all. Finally.
The finale drops Friday. So
Yes.
there will be no finale ruined. You won't have seen it. This has been out for a decent amount of time now, a couple weeks, right? So I feel like it's
Yes.
okay to talk about it.
I think so. I
We're
mean,
down to the
well,
final
up until
six.
what we've seen, we've only watched up until episode 8 as you're listening to this, because the last 2 episodes, we're taping this on Wednesday, have not dropped yet until, like you said, Friday. So, yeah. So, let's go through the evolution of Charlie kind of watching, because I got to be witness to that through
Yeah,
communication
Tim had
that we've
already
had.
watched them all ahead.
Yes.
So I knew he had already seen it. So I was just kind of updating him as I went along.
So let's talk about some of the key players in the season. Let me bring up the list. Because I want to make sure I get exactly who I'm talking about, the way I'm talking about it, so that I don't like step over
Yeah.
anything. First of all, I
And
will
we're down to
say
the final six.
I am enjoying it. I love them all. I hope they do a season 3. Wink, wink. Um, I really do. So the contestants, I'll name all of them first, and then we can kind of talk about them. We have Muna, Nish, Deanna, Jennifer, Melissa, Tony, Andy, Hannah, Quaylen, Q. Every reality show has to have a Q.
It's a hit.
Michael, Ryan, and Sean. Interesting that those are the last three names, by the way, that are kind of on that thing. So I'll go through a little bit of this from what I understand. Deanna was originally on a Netflix reality show called Don't F with Cats.
Oh,
And
we
she's
were
like an
just talking about
investigator.
that tonight.
Yeah, and she's like an investigator. So that's like her background. We learn that Sean, through the movies, is apparently a detective. Although I did a little research of my own, went on IMDb, and he has quite the actor resume, so that's interesting to
He
me.
does. He
Um,
does.
uh, Michael is he's a gay football player or rugby player. I think he's a rugby player. Really interesting guy. Andy uh is a private and like accountant or something like that, forensic accountant. I think he is. I'm not sure what Muna does. Niche is like a whole social media guy. Tony is interesting.
He was like a
Um,
VIP host,
VIP. Okay.
something like that.
He was also Hannah's fling apparently for 2 episodes.
Yep.
um, I love it when he and Hannah are sitting there like stubborn as anything. Like I'm not moving when the pot kind of
That was the very
really.
first one where it kind of went off the rails there.
Oh, what?
That was
Uh,
that's an interesting mind game, that challenge.
what strikes me on that, and I do not by any means think that Hannah is the mole. Not at
No,
all.
no chance. Not a
No
she's the
chance.
only one
Like
I'm certain is not.
100% certain. Um,
100%.
he left and she didn't, which is interesting to me. So does that mean that she knows who it is and she was
No, I
throwing him
think
along?
I think that's funny because I think two different times they showed this in one of the episodes where he started giving his opinion and then she said he's I don't know why he's thinking this. He's wrong, blah blah blah. And then it cut to him saying we're on the same page and then he got voted out and she was in. So I think whatever he thought, she thought the complete opposite.
The
You know what
editors
I
are
mean?
having fun with that.
Yeah.
But
She
you know,
but
I
she's
mean,
not it for no
but the
way.
interesting thing is, even if it's not the mole, even if they're both wrong, he was, I guess, less wrong. What's interesting is they do at the end, usually they'll tell you how close you were to being eliminated. They'll say that, like, on this quiz, you were one question away from
You
yourself
were
being
saved by the
eliminated.
correction or
Yeah,
something like
or
that.
yeah. Um, so our finalist right now, the way that's left in the game, we'll talk about how people were eliminated in a minute. Q. Really? Q.
Twice.
Q. What? I was upset because Q was let back in the game because I felt like, oh, he has an advantage. And in the very next episode, he's gone. So that was okay. So we have Muna. We have Deanna is still in the game. We have Andy in the game. We no, Andy's not in the game.
No,
We have
not
Hannah
Andy.
in the game.
Ryan.
Michael, Ryan, Sean,
Yeah,
and
that's it. Those six.
yeah. So here's my thing. Well, first of all, let's talk. I want to talk about one thing real quick. Niche, what the heck? Well, why you let the pot go all the way down to nothing? That's why I thought right away watching it, I was like, oh, there's no way he's the mole. Because there's no way production will let the mole run the pot all the way down. It's too like conflicting with the game. Like
Yes.
it
Okay.
I just
That's
don't
something
see that.
I'd love a little clarity on. So you're the resident mole expert, I will
Well,
say.
I did
So
watch it back in Anderson.
explain this. The person who's the mole, they work for production. So they're being
Yeah.
paid
So what
to
happens is this. Production casts everybody the same. Everybody, all 12 people are cast the same way. At the time, by the time they finish deciding, okay, these are going to be the 12, they'll have a couple alternates who will not be the mole no matter what.
who
These are the
played in the
12 that,
paintball battle.
right, in episode 1. These are the 12 that are for sure, unless something happens, are going to be in the show. Which of the 12 do we think could possibly be the mole? So what they do is they really have these conversations, further zooms, kind of like audition zooms, but they're not auditions, where they say, what would you do as the mole? What would your strategy be? And I know this from like hearing reports. I've never personally gone through this part. Um, And so they go through all of them with each of these contestants, and then they decide who they want the mole to be. And then they ask the person, okay, so we would like you to be the mole. Well, they asked the question before to make sure that they would say yes. And then that person, instead of being a contestant on the show, now they become the mole. So there's an agreed upon amount that they're going to get no matter what to throw the challenges. So they don't necessarily work for production. They're still kind of a contestant, but they're paid differently and they're not eligible for the grand prize, obviously. Um, I've always had this thought that
Do
it's
they get
probably
an
50 to
incentive?
a
Like,
hundred $1,000 they probably get. That's
do
my
they get an
guess.
incentive of like they cost the pot
I don't know.
100%, so they get 10% bonus?
Yeah, I don't know that. And I don't know that fact,
Interesting.
but
Okay.
they are paid by production to, because they're no longer, they're giving up their right to be a contestant on the show. I will tell you straight up, if I ever got on the show and they asked me to be the mole, 100% I would do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. To
Yeah.
me, that's a more fun role. To be the saboteur? Absolutely. 100%. So yeah.
All right,
Um,
let's get into it. Who do you think it is?
okay. I've gone back and forth. So for a while, I thought it was Michael.
Yep.
I thought Michael, sus. But I started thinking it's way too obvious. Production wouldn't edit it that way to be that obvious, unless they wanted to kind of throw it off. So then I kind of I veered towards Sean and Ryan. That's kind
Okay.
of where, and that's where I'm at right now. I believe out of Sean and Ryan, one is the mole and one is the winner. I think it's going to come down to the final three is going to be Michael, Ryan, and Sean. Um, and I think
Does
I
it go down to a final three or final four?
if it's final four, I think Deanna's going to be in it too. I think the next two eliminated are going to be Hannah and Muna. That's
Okay.
my feeling. Both very emotional players, kind of. I think if I was to guess, I would say Ryan is the mole. That's my
Yeah,
guess.
that's probably where I'm leaning a little too. I don't think it's Sean. I think Sean's done too many
I
obvious
was kind
things.
of I was hoping. I mean, they had a female last year. I was hoping to go with a male this year, but that's
It could
not
be. It
what.
still could be Michael.
It still could be Michael or Sean. I think out of Michael, Sean, and Ryan, it's definitely one of them. No doubt in my mind, one of them is a
Yeah.
mole. Um, I still am leaning towards Ryan though. But I think it could be Sean. I really do.
Yeah.
Um,
They've done a good job of
Sean,
spreading
what kind of
things
throws me with
out.
Sean, his IMDb is a little crazy for someone who's just a detective. Like you're an active detective, that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me. And
But
it's very possible.
would they want someone like that to be the mole?
Remember though, dude, the mole can lie at all times. So that video could have been fake of him
True.
just saying it
That's true.
and to throw them off. And I I don't know. Like, I don't know. We're gonna find out on Friday. We'll definitely talk about it in a couple of weeks when we reconvene on the first,
Yeah, when
and
we
we'll definitely
reconvene.
recap the finale for sure. But what do you think? So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm between Michael and Ryan, I think. I'm pretty confident it's not Sean.
Why is
I
that?
don't I don't, I just think that he was if it was he was doing things to put unnecessary doubt on him. He keeps making it a point where he wants people to think it's him so they do worse on the quiz. I get that it could be he just something he's saying, but
Hmm.
for example, the episode where they were doing the service, where there were waiters and they were going around seeing who drank what wine and what they eat.
I remember that. They're
Okay,
finding a doctor and
that episode, he's trying to throw off Michael on purpose. So he turned over one of the pictures wrong on purpose.
yes, I remember that.
Okay. And Michael saw him do it. And then Michael says it seemed like he was doing that on purpose. It seemed too obvious.
So
Like, why
and
would
a
he do
mole
that?
wouldn't do that.
Right.
That's true.
Why
That's a good
why
point.
why would he try to put someone openly on him if it were him? He's only trying to do that to throw someone off it. And Michael was too smart to fall for it.
You know
So
what? You're convincing me that yeah.
there were two or three moments of similar things where he purposely tried to get more people to think it was him to have them do worse on the quiz. So
So
that's
here's
where I
where I
think I've narrowed it down to Michael or Ryan.
So I was thinking, what challenge were both Michael and Ryan kind of together? And the challenge that they were both together on was the one where they had to defuse this bomb. The money was going
Yes.
to blow up. So Michael and Ryan were together. And interestingly enough, I thought the instructions were pretty clear. They still blew up their money. And they were the
Yeah.
last ones to open the thing.
And I thought Michael was a couple different times was showing some signs of pretty big stalling moves because they were the third team to check in at the end. And there was
Yeah.
only like what, a minute 10, a minute 20 by the time they finally made contact. The other two teams were like, oh, they're not even going to get here. So that's why I think he kind of played it off like, oh, we were hurrying, we were out of time. But it was clear they said, they were very clear with their instruction. And I thought, yeah, that was definitely sketchy.
Yeah, you've actually done a good job of convincing me it's probably not Sean, and I think it's Michael or Ryan too. I'm kind of there, and honestly, based on everything, I really do think it's Ryan. Her
See,
Ed has
and
been
and
very
that she
quiet,
was in a good spot there because
very quiet,
Michael was the one talking and blowing it up, and then she physically cut it. She just listened to what he said. She could have known, hey, that's wrong, and fixed it. But hey, no, that's what he told me to do, so I did it. It
and
was a good
she
pole move.
strikes me as a very smart person. You know what's interesting? It's the way she said before the challenge even started that Michael's one person I haven't been with. I want to kind of keep an eye on him. But Michael has been like suspect number one on everybody's list. So why wouldn't you have wanted to keep an eye on him before this challenge unless you are the mole?
Mm-hmm. And then
Uh,
the episode where they kidnapped two of them, my only thinking is, would they have the mole as one of the two people kidnapped? Now, there were definitely moments where she could have, wreaked a little havoc, but not the same amount had she been, one of the four looking for them.
and for future contestants of the mole, let me explain something real important. Emotions matter. How you express yourself matters. I could tell very easily how emotional Muna and Deanna were. They're not the mole. They're way too invested in winning these challenges. It's become so super clear. You have to ride a very even keel balance. If you want people to think that you're the mole, which a good player, you want to draw suspicion, you can't be that like invested. I think that was Q. I could read Q a mile away. I was like, there's no way that dude is the mole. Like, there's no way. So and this happens every season. I knew Niche wasn't the mole either. I mean, because
Yeah.
besides the money, is emotional. I know Hannah is not the mole. Hannah's not as emotional, but Hannah is immature a little bit, and kind of strikes me as like is
She's
really
been
wanting to
hard,
win.
hard playing for the money the last
Hardcore,
few.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's a
Sean has done
fine
a good
balance
job.
you have to walk.
Michael has definitely done a good job. If Michael is not the mole, Michael kind of strikes me similar to the winner last year and how he played the game very similarly, where he was kind of just even keel. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. If I was to draw comparisons, Niche kind of reminded me of Jacob last year. It's interesting how that kind of worked. Andy, I don't know who Andy was puzzling to me. I didn't understand the casting there, but okay. Um, okay. But that I didn't understand. Like I like, trust me, older people represent because I am older, but
I
I
actually
didn't.
kind of liked Andy. I know we
I know a
talked
lot of
about
people did. I just didn't get the personality, but that's okay. It's okay. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. Who knows? But
too close to the situation.
it's maybe no comment. But yeah. So okay. So exciting. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes up on Netflix on Friday when we watch The Mole. And if you want to comment on that, please you send us a message on this podcast. We have ways to contact us and let us know what your feelings are. Who do you think is the mole? What do we think about the host this year?
I like Ari.
I like Ari too. I liked
Is it
I
going to be a
like
new host every season, or was that just as
no,
well?
I think I think she was not able to do it because she's on CNN, Alex Wagner, and I think that there was a conflict. I think Ari's probably going to have the job if he wants it. It is a top 10 show still on Netflix. There's a very good chance it'll be renewed. I like Ari seems very he plays. I like that. You know, he kind of has a good
Yeah.
attitude about it. I like the way he plays off of the camera. Yeah, I
The
think he's doing a
episode
good job.
where
Very sassy.
he brought one from each van in, and right before
Yeah,
he gave the answer, he's like, you know what? Nah, let's bring them
I
all
love
in.
him. Yeah,
Good.
I
I like
love
it.
that. We'll see how that kind of plays out. Um, Pop culturally, what else is happening? I'm trying to think. That's about it.
We also have, I don't know, we know we briefly mentioned this once or twice, but we're caught up also on the 1% Club. I actually I've
Uh,
been enjoying playing along with that one.
so I did read something. I don't know if it was on like some message board from a contestant. Basically, they film one episode a day, and you're in that 100, and that's it. You're done.
Oh
You
yeah,
don't
for
tape
sure.
another episode.
We've been noticing that there's really no
That's a lot of contestants they went through.
yeah.
Wow. I
Wow.
mean, that's like we are family
Thousands.
every day.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
I don't it's interesting because I look for these casting calls. I don't recall that one at all.
Me neither.
And um no, not downplaying anything, but I'm all about the numbers. I enjoy the show, but from a winning standpoint, I'm all about odds and stuff. I don't think that's a show I would want to go on, only because the odds of winning are not that great.
Yeah, they're tougher.
And the payouts are, I mean, $1,000 maybe, like if you make it far enough. Uh, I mean, it's not a bad payday for one day. Don't
Yeah,
get me
one
wrong.
exactly one day.
Um, it filmed at the Grove in LA. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's like a outdoor shopping mall next to CBS. It's a cool
Yeah.
place. So yeah. Yeah, Patton Oswalt, great guy. Follow me.
Locked. Locked.
But yeah, it's a good show. We got a lot of good game shows coming out. I'm excited. Hollywood Squares is casting. Today Claim to Fame dropped. I didn't watch it yet, but apparently it'll drop tomorrow on Hulu. That's of course the other celebrity guessing game, relative guessing game, and I did get some. I won't spoil it, but I've heard who from our guy, Kyle, who went over We Are Family. He's
Yeah,
gone
yeah.
over spoilers for on TikTok for Claim to Fame for this
He
season.
already
And
knows the winner.
no, he knows who the relatives are. Like he
Uh
I will tell you, I'll tell you,
well, you find out
I'll,
a few of them pretty quickly.
well, I'll tell you one of the relatives, and I won't tell you what contestant. One of the contestants is related to John Cougar Mellencamp, John Mellencamp.
Okay.
Another contestant is related to Michael Jackson. So yeah, those are a couple of the ones that are mixed out there. Sorry, spoiler. Said it after the
Well, yeah,
fact,
we'll
but
check it out.
Claim to Fame on ABC, hosted by one of the Jonas Brothers and another Jonas brother. That's not a Jonas brother, if that
The
makes
third
sense.
one. Yeah,
The
the
third Jonas
youngest.
brother. The fourth
The
Jonas.
fourth. However many there are. There are
Yeah,
a lot of
however
them.
many, there's a lot of Jonas Brothers coming into the woodwork and whatnot. But yeah, so next couple of weeks we're gonna have a retrospective. Next week we'll have our movie retrospective. We'll have another retrospective the following week, and we'll be back with some more reviews on August 1st. So please continue to subscribe, like the podcast, comments, and just share it. Hopefully you're enjoying the podcast. We continue to try and make it grow. All right, buddy. I'll see you next week. This has been Around the Bases, the pop
Pleasure.
culture
That's fun.
pleasure.
Good to see you.
Absolutely. Good to
As
see you too.
always.
This has been Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host.
Charlie Seymour.
And I'm that guy, Tim Sternberg. See you next week, everybody. Bye.